There it is. All right. We got Coach Jeff Phelps, defensive line. If you have a question, get in the chat. Looks like we're going to kick it off with Tyler Horka.
No, that was from.
Nope, sorry, that's the last one. Robbie Folk.
Hey Jeff, how you doing?
Doing great, Robbie. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. We talked to Nathan Pickering last night, and I asked him just what your personality and coaching style is like. He thinks that you're a pretty laid-back guy, but he's learned a lot from you, and you're a little bit different style than what some of these guys are used to. How do you feel like your style has been able to translate with this group of guys this year, guys that were coached by a different defensive line coach last year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is in coaching, you have to be yourself. And if you're not yourself, then you're going to come across as phony, and that can only go for so long. And then once they figure that out, then everything that you have said and what you're going to say, you probably have lost them. And so I just approach it in the sense that if I feel that I need to raise my voice on something, hopefully they understand the intensity level needs to rise or something needs to change in that capacity. But really, football coaching is teaching, and so we're in the teaching business. We're here to develop these young men and give them the greatest college football experience that we can. And so to me, that teaching needs to come in the sense of a way that they can learn and they can understand. You do want to put a little bit of pressure on them so that they can strive under that pressure, but you just hope that you feed them the information that they need to be the most successful football player. And that goes a long way because they want to be coached, they want to be good, and they want to win. And that's what I want to do at the same.
Next, we'll go to Ben Portnoy.
Hey, Jeff. We were talking to Kobe and Nate about this a little bit last night, but they're talking about kind of how they have a little bit more freedom in this scheme as a gap scheme versus a man scheme with kind of what they were running with Coach Shoup last year. I guess I was just going to ask, can you kind of explain why that might be or kind of what that, kind of entails in terms of the difference between a gap and a man, kind of what that brings to you guys?
Yes, Coach Arnett's defense is one that's built on, really causing disruption of the offense. Whether you're pinching or looping, you're really trying to collapse gaps by using your body really as a weapon, so to speak. And that allows them an opportunity to make some plays. One guy comes crashing down, another guy comes looping around, and he becomes a free player, basically. So it allows them an opportunity to get some tackle for losses, and that kind of translates, that mentality, I think, translates to getting some pressure on the quarterback. And as a defensive lineman, that's what you want to do. You don't want to sit and hold up double teams. And sometimes you have to do that. It's the nature of the business. But you don't want to sit and just have to hold up double teams and let the linebackers run through and make plays all day. Coach Arnett feels the defensive line is important because it's the first line of defense. And in his mind, if we can make the play, then that just frees everybody else up. And obviously, if it gets past us, then the linebackers need to make it, and so forth and so on all the way back.
Next, we'll go to Tyler Horka.
Jeff, going back to what Robbie asked you about your coaching style, with COVID, obviously we haven't been able to go see one of y'all's practices this entire year, so don't really have a good feel of what you guys are like on the field. Just kind of paint the picture of what your relationship is like and how you kind of bounce the ideas off of Zach Arnett. Is it like a yin and yang, a good cop, bad cop type thing, or are you guys pretty similar when you're on the field?
Well, Coach Arnett is very intense, and he's a very sharp defensive coordinator. I mean, I just sit back and just think about the things that he's thinking about and the defenses that he comes up with, the solutions that he brings to the table for problems that we have or that we see on the field. And so that's outstanding. But he allows me to be a defensive line coach, and I appreciate that and I respect that. He has his idea of what the picture should look like, and then he allows me to go out and coach the guys to get that picture the way he wants it. And so anytime you have that scenario where your defensive coordinator values the play of the defensive line, it's fun as a coach, it's fun as a player. And so out on the field, we have fun and we talk about plays, and he'll say this was in there for you guys, and whether we got to cover somebody or make a certain type of movement, if we can get to the right gap and that sort, just to see if we got the capabilities of doing that and making the adjustments that need to be made as we go through the week and all the way through the weekend leading up to the game. And so it's fun and it's exciting. And again, like I said, you can't say it enough. When you're given the opportunity to let your guys turn it loose, it's easy to coach that philosophy. And when the guys start to see the fruits of their labor, then you see the practice intensity continue to go up because they feel they're getting better. And excuse me, at the end of the day, that's what we want, to get 1 week better each and every week.
Next, we will go to Joel Coleman.
Jeff, coming into this year, kind of the, I guess maybe the question about your group wasn't so much, Marquise and Jaden and Nathan and Kobe, those guys, everybody kind of felt like knew what you had in those guys, but it was the guys behind them, the depth, that was kind of maybe the question from the outside looking in. After a couple games now, how do you feel about that depth? Like, what's kind of your feel on the guys behind, I guess, those top 3 or 4 guys?
Right, we're still developing and we're still working on those guys to become better football players. Obviously, we have to rotate guys in. That's what we like to do, and so you need that next group that can go in there and provide some production. I really thought specifically Aaron Odom did a great job last week stepping into that role, and that was really exciting to see. I thought the week before that, Jackhead did a great job of stepping into that role. So now we're working on the consistency, getting those guys to produce that on every snap, every time, and then having Trey in that mix, continuing to try to develop him, to get him moving and get him going, getting him some reps here and there. And I really think, we're blessed to have a situation where we got Cam Young as the third nose guard, and he hasn't seen any action just yet. But I think that he could do some special things, and so just getting him into the mix, we got to be able to do that here moving forward. But we got a good group, but we got to continue to develop that group and continue to build their confidence that when they step out on the field, that they'll be able to get the job done just the same.
Next, we'll go to Brian Haydad.
Jeff, I'm sure as a defensive line coach, you probably had to do a little bit of a double take when you saw how many yards Kentucky had rushed for last week. What's the challenge that offensive line and that rushing attack presents to your group specifically?
Well, first and foremost, they got some great athletes, running the ball, quarterback and tailbacks, taking care of the ball in that sense. And they've got a big, experienced offensive line that work really well together. You can tell they communicate well. It looks like they're a tight-knit group because they work well, and they look to move people off the line of scrimmage. So it's going to be a great challenge for us. We've been talking to the guys all week about making sure that we play with low pad level. That's going to be very important to try to keep good leverage with those guys, and so it should be a good battle. They like to run the ball. I guess it goes back to a little bit of my Midwest ties and running the ball all the time, and so it'll be a great challenge. They're a great team, a great program, and so for us to continue to move in the direction that we need to move into, we got to be able to face those opponents, and again, that's the SEC. You're not going to have an easy one week in and week out, so you got to prepare. And you got to put forth the plan, and then you got to work the plan throughout the game.
We have time for just a couple more. We'll go to Robbie Falk next.
Coach, you had the luxury to kind of bring those young guys along a little slower than some people might because you have a little bit of depth. But what have you seen from Javon Banks and Armandus Cooley so far in camp and also throughout the week in practices? I don't know if they're working in scout team or whatever, but what have you kind of seen from them so far since you've been on campus?
Yeah, both of those guys, Banks is one that he may still get an opportunity here down the stretch. You never know what will happen and how things play out, but he shows some signs of being really good. He plays with great pad level. He's athletic. He can run, and he's putting on a little bit more size and strength with Coach Tyson and his crew in the weight room. And so we really appreciate the work that those guys continue to do as far as molding those young guys and getting them ready. But I think his future is going to be bright here at Mississippi State. I think he's going to be a great football player. He's just got to make sure that he continues to work hard. We got to continue to develop him. But like I said, I think he may get a chance down the stretch here. We'll see how it plays out. And then Armandus has really done a great job. He's reshaping his body, and he's going to be a big guy that can move, and he's athletic as well. So we see a lot of good things. Armandus, he's a little bit quieter, and so you feel you got to maybe bring him along a little bit slower in that sense. But you know, I think both of those guys were great gets for us, and I think the future's bright having them in the program.
Great. Thanks for joining us tonight, Coach Phelps. We appreciate the time.
All right, thank you guys. Thanks for what you do.